Planning and safe delivery procedures. Drivers can face various challenges when delivering to site, including difficult access and overhead power lines. Knowing the site requirements and how to correctly plan for the delivery of timber frame and truss products will ensure a safe outcome. Planning. All drivers must hold a current high-risk work license. Operators must also hold the following: a white card, a heavy rigid or a heavy combination license, and a CV crane license. Prior to any setup and unloading activities, drivers must complete a safe work method statement to identify any risks or hazards at the site. The SWIMS forms part of the safe system of work. A safe system of work includes completing a SWIMS, but also considers other control measures. Engineering controls minimize unexpected movement by using correct outrigger placement or installing pressure sensors in the outriggers. And administration controls. Drivers hold high-risk WorkSafe licenses, and work is done in a considered manner. Chain of responsibility. The chain of responsibility is the part of the heavy vehicle national law that makes parties other than drivers responsible for the safety of heavy vehicles on the road. Everyone who works with heavy vehicles, from the business that employs a driver or owns a vehicle, to the business that sends or receives goods, is accountable for the safety of the heavy vehicle, its driver, and its load throughout the journey. Parties in the chain of responsibility. You are a party in the core when you perform functions such as employer, scheduler, and consignee. The employer employs a heavy vehicle driver. The scheduler schedules the transport of goods and passengers in a heavy vehicle, or schedule a driver's work and rest hours. And the consignee receives goods delivered by a heavy vehicle. Site access. It is important that all drivers assess site access for their vehicles prior to delivery. Issues that can restrict truck access at a site include the inability to park as per the Vic Roads compliance requirements, site bins, trees, power lines, bus stops, no standing zones, site toilets, poor site conditions such as mud, water, or uneven ground, and limited room to extend the crane outriggers. Power lines. Power lines are a significant hazard that must be clearly assessed prior to the delivery date. A safe unloading location must be identified. The typical distance of power lines to the ground ranges from 5.5 to 3 meters for power lines on poles, and 6.7 to 5.5 meters for power lines on towers. Service lines can be as low as 3 meters and may cross property boundaries. Referencing the guidebook by Energy Safe Victoria and WorkSafe using powered plant near overhead assets, a site assessment should be conducted before work starts to determine if the scope of work will be affected by overhead electrical assets, and if so, what safety measures are necessary. For power lines on poles, the no-go zone is 3 meters from the power lines, and the spotter zone is 3 to 6.4 meters from the power lines. This also applies to service lines. For power lines on towers, the no-go zone is 8 meters from the power lines, and the spotter zone is 8 to 10 meters from the power lines. The no-go zone distance may be reduced by the permit issued from the power company. So if a permit for the task is on issue, comply with the conditions and the distances to be applied. The client site owner need to comply with the permit requirements. The operational zone is the area encompassing the movement of plant, attachment, and any load. and the design envelope is where the crane can potentially reach, but is not part of the operational zone. Example 1. If the crane is set up in an open area and the operating and design envelopes are greater than 6.4 meters from the power lines, including the design envelope, there are no guideline requirements. Example 2. If the crane is operating at greater than 6.4 meters from power lines, but the design envelope of the mobile plant, load, and attachment can penetrate the no-go zone, you must ensure that the spotter zone is not penetrated. Example 3. If the crane is operating inside the spotter zone, and the design envelope of the mobile plant, load, or attachment can penetrate the no-go zone, a registered spotter is required. The spotter must be within line of sight of the driver at all times during the lift, and must have a functional method or system to warn and stop the operator. A permit to work is not required. Example 4. If the crane is operating inside the 3 meters no-go zone, a permit to work must be obtained from the asset owner. You must ensure that any controls and conditions outlined in the permit to work are implemented, and a spotter is also required due to the crane operating in the no-go zone. If the truck, crane, or product will operate within 3 meters from an overhead power line, the client or site owner must organize third-party assistance, for example franner, mobile crane, etc. The client or site owner must organize a permit from the power company, PTW, or provide another safe system of work to ensure the truck does not encroach the safe distances from power lines. The Look Up and Live. The Look Up and Live website and app provides detailed information regarding electrical asset locations and assists with planning the delivery. The site owner can use this app to identify risks and pre-plan for safe and efficient deliveries. Look Up and Live is now part of Before You Dig Australia and can be found at byda.com.au. Road safety. All trucks must comply with all National Heavy Vehicle Regulator (NHVR) regulations, including during unloading operations. All trucks must not stop within 10 meters of an intersection without traffic control. Must position the vehicle to face in the direction of traveller vehicles in the marked lane or line of traffic. Must position the driver's vehicle at least 3 meters from the continuous dividing line or dividing strip. Trucks cannot be facing against the traffic when unloading, as this will also incur a fine. Full traffic management is required if this is the only unloading option. Traffic control. The planned position of the truck and site access will determine the level of traffic control required. There are 2 levels of traffic control that may be required. Traffic control, which consists of a single person with a stop-go sign, or a full traffic management plan, which consists of a local council-approved traffic management plan and full traffic management. Traffic management is organised by the site owner, who must apply to council for approval and provide full traffic management for the delivery. Standard delivery. Driver-managed traffic control. When the following conditions are met, it is a standard delivery and the driver manages traffic control. This includes: if the truck is able to gain clear access into the delivery site, or it's parked over 10 meters from an intersection, there are no power lines within 6.4 meters, and the truck is facing the direction of travel when parked, the product can be unloaded with no traffic management. Drivers will set up an exclusion zone with cones and signs around the truck. Single-person stop-go traffic control. If the delivery truck location is within 10 meters from an intersection, and there are no power lines within 6.4 meters, and the truck is facing the direction of travel when parked, traffic control is required, which consists of a single-person stop-go traffic control. Full traffic management. If the delivery truck location is within 10 meters from an intersection, the truck is facing the wrong direction of travel when parked, or blocks traffic, full traffic management is required and organized by the site owner, who must apply to council for approval, as this will also incur a fine. Other considerations should be given to the load path. Will the load strike oncoming traffic? If so, traffic management will be required. The delivery. Crane setup requirements. Once the truck is in position, the crane outriggers must be extended to ensure lift safety and allow full use of lifting capacity and reach. Outrigger pads must be positioned on a hard, level and stable surface for the crane to operate. Drivers must check if there are any underground services or recently filled excavations before setting up outriggers. The crane can recognize if the outriggers do not have enough pressure on each pad. If the pressure is not enough, the crane will not engage and will not operate. Unloading. When products are lifted, be aware that the product is subject to movement, sway, and rotation, even with an experienced operator. Ensure the area is clear and no one is to be under the product whilst it is being lifted. Taglines to help control the load may be needed under the following circumstances: long or unbalanced loads, tight clearances, windy conditions, or where load control is necessary. Avoid accessing the trailer or tray of the truck. Use a ladder to access any chains or slings from the ground. Remember that proper planning will reduce downtime and create a safe site for all suppliers. Proper planning can include contacting Instructional Victoria or WorkSafe to further understand their requirements.